Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, in the shadow of the Great Blue Hills. We are so delighted that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Stephanie Parwulski. She is the author of Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift. Hey, before our guest comes in, we gave a sneak preview of the Solve It for Kids podcast here on Reading with Your Kids, and it was so popular, it's like spun off. It spun off into its own thing, and my buddy, our dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, is here to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this great new podcast. Hey, Jennifer, what's up?
Hi, Jed. Oh, I am so excited about our new podcast. We've been getting some great reviews. Everybody wants to find out what's going on and meet and listen to some of our scientists and engineers. We have done how do you map an underwater forest?
Yeah.
We have done how do you cut a person in half safely, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We have talked about improving your connection with water by going on a water walk, and we have watched Vanessa Brantley Newton create illustrations that come to life.
I took a water walk with my amazing niece. We had such a great time. I didn't fall into the water, but it was really, really fun. And I love the fact that all of our guests are giving our wonderful listeners challenges, really fun challenges that they can do together as a family. And that's so cool. Hey, tell everybody where they can find Solve It for Kids, because it's not on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's its own thing.
So please, if you want to keep listening, go over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and subscribe. And you can download all 4 of the first episodes that we have, plus listen to all the new ones we have coming out. You can also find on Stitcher Radio and, of course, through our website, solveitforkids.com.
Jennifer, thanks so much. Thanks for letting me be part of this awesome, awesome, awesome podcast.
Well, we make a great STEM team, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, join us over at solveitforkids.com. Joining us right now from the beautiful city of Buffalo in New York State. She is the author of a brand new book. It's her debut book. It's called Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift. Please welcome to the show, Stephanie Parwulski. Stephanie, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jed. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I'm really excited. Stephanie also has Beatrice with her. Beatrice is a beautiful green dragon, dinosaur?
Turtle.
Turtle. I only saw the top, the line. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
So Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift. Tell us about this book, please.
Sure. Well, this book is really about the power of kindness and how one small act of kindness can make a big difference. And I wanted to write it as a way to share my story with anxiety and to help others who might similarly be struggling. And I thought that the turtle would be the best way to represent that story. So I'm really excited that I can share Beatrice with kids and adults, because I feel like children's books have universal messages. So I feel like kids and kids at heart can appreciate them.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. There are. I've received a number, and this is way before I became the host of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. I received a number of children's books as gifts. Initially, I was insulted because I'm thinking, do these people not think I can read a novel? Do they think I'm reading at a kindergarten level? But then as I looked and I said, wow, these are some really, really powerful messages that are really pertinent to me at this time in my life. So, yeah, children's books can be very powerful. You mentioned that you wanted to tell kids about how important an act of kindness can be in somebody else's life. It sounds like you're writing from experience.
Yes. For me, I've realized that all of the people that have touched my life made that difference for me. And so my hope through my writing is that I can share that message, showing that it only takes one person to believe in you and to encourage you, and that opens up a whole new world of possibility for yourself and helps you to believe in yourself. And my whole journey of writing really started that way because I had my family and dear friends believe in me and say, Steph, you can submit that manuscript. And each time they've done that for me. So I'm really appreciative.
Yeah. It is true that one person, that act of kindness that you're not even aware of, sometimes that can make change somebody's world. I know when I was growing up, I thought I want to go out and I really want to make a difference. I want to change the world, and that's not a very realistic goal. But if we can help our kids understand that they can change somebody's world, not the entire world, but they absolutely can change someone's world, and that is a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the message that I'm trying to share, that I want to give children that sense of encouragement and empowerment, because especially I think when you're at that age and of that stature, you may feel vulnerable. You may feel like, does my voice matter? Do my actions matter? And I want to let kids know that they are important. And as you said, Jed, if each of us can change somebody's life for the better, think of how many lives will be improved because we each cared for one another.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into the story itself, but before we do, you mentioned that one of your hopes with for Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift is that it will help kids learn how to deal with anxiety, and it sounds like that's something that you had to learn how to deal with. Can you give folks an idea, because, and I hope this is a fair question, what is it? If somebody who's struggling with anxiety, what's that feel like? Help us feel what that's all about.
Sure. Well, yes, you're right. I do always put a personal part of myself in my books, and I wanted to be able to help people understand what it's like to have anxiety, even though everyone's journey with it is respective. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to give everyone an understanding, because I feel like all of us carry an invisible story, and I wanted to bring one of mine to light. So I thought that a turtle would be the best representation of what it feels like, at least for me, to have anxiety. And what I have found that's really helped me to manage is my writing. And that's been very therapeutic, to find a means of connecting with others, because I think for me that's where my greatest fear comes. It can be difficult for me to sometimes feel comfortable in social settings. I prefer to be more in the background, mm-hmm. Instead of the spotlight, and it can be difficult sometimes just, going about my day outside the house. I guess just I might carry a fear of judgment or a fear of criticism or rejection, and I think to some extent all people carry that. Mm-hmm. But when you have anxiety, sometimes those feelings feel even more magnified. And so over time, I've taken little steps to manage those doubtful thoughts that might, go around in my mind. And what's really helped is writing. Also, like I said, the people who've encouraged me, because their belief in me has helped me to believe in myself, and also being out in nature has been very helpful. And I think that a message like this is timeless, and especially pertinent now, as I'm sure many of us are feeling heightened degrees of anxiety, and I want to help people, process how they feel and validate their emotions, and mostly let them know that they're not alone in what they're feeling. I wouldn't want anyone to silently suffer or struggle. I want them to know, like Beatrice's story is meant to represent that we all have a companion, cheering for us.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the story of Beatrice and the sunflower gift, please.
Sure. Well, it starts out, we meet Beatrice in her rock garden, and that's really her comfort zone where she feels most familiar. And then one day, she is greeted by this white butterfly. And all of a sudden, her world starts to expand a little bit because of this special visitor. And throughout the story, you will accompany Beatrice on different adventures, and these are experiences that she comes by for the first time. Thanks to the butterfly who helps her, realize her inner courage, and so it's a journey that they take together, and you realize from that kindness that the butterfly shares with Beatrice, then Beatrice in turn performs her own act of kindness. One of the stops along her journey is at a sunflower field, and sunflowers are one of my favorite flowers. I feel like they instantly bring cheer when you look at them. And so Beatrice decides to give some to the other forest animals that she meets along her way. And from that one unexpected act of kindness, she's able to make all these friends. And as I mentioned, the boundaries of her world start to expand a little. And so it really is a message of how kindness can be our form of courage, can give us a platform to feel safe and to expand the boundaries of our world. And again, how that one person can bring about a change, a positive change in your life, help you step over a threshold that you thought you may not have crossed without their belief in you or their encouragement.
Yeah. Now, you are a preschool teacher, and so you're with kids all the time. I know when my kids were young in kindergarten, preschool, I saw moments where kids, an act of kindness from one kid to another made a huge difference in their lives. Have you witnessed any of those moments in your preschool, and can you share one that was especially meaningful?
Sure. I work primarily with the 2-year-olds, and so for many of them, it's the first time that they're away from mom and dad or grandpa or grandma or their caregiver for an extended period of time, and I witness how that can be really terrifying for them because they're not used to that separation, and being in a new place with unfamiliar faces can be very daunting. And so I admire their courage, and I love witnessing their unconditional love that they so freely share. A lot of the time, as the children come into the classroom, we invite them to play and get acquainted, and sometimes it might be more difficult for a child to get adjusted. They might not feel ready to engage, and you'll see then a classmate come over and either give that child a pat on the back or bring over a toy that they think their classmate might like, and just seeing that is very heartwarming because you see in them a natural sense of empathy and unconditional love. And so my hope is to always maintain that perspective myself, like as I age, to keep that childlike mentality of offering unconditional love, empathy, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see each time when they just naturally, without any prompting, comfort each other when they see a classmate is distressed or sad. They do that all on their own.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, the Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift is your first book. You also have a book that was recently released called Glorious Hope Tree. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So, yes, Glorious Hope Tree is my second book. It was released last summer, and I was really excited about that one too, because in each book, I try to share an uplifting message, and Glorious Hope Tree's message is about the healing power of love and compassion, and that book is meant to help anyone who is processing a form of loss in their life. And it also comes from a personal place, because I had lost my mom a few years ago, and she is the reason that I write. And so each of my books, they're written in tribute to her, and I wanted to help others who might be undergoing some sort of loss or feelings of grief, and help them process and navigate those profound emotions, and also share an uplifting message, a comforting message. So in each book, that's my hope. And in that book as well, there's a nature theme, because that's where I gain a lot of my inspiration.
Yeah. I want to get back to talk to you a little bit about your love and your connection with nature. But I was wondering, you know, you're sharing that your books and your writing are dedicated to your mom. I'm just assuming that she was a wonderful person. Can you tell us a little bit about her, and maybe she can inspire all of us?
Sure. Yeah, she is one of my biggest fans, and I was one of hers. And she actually, in the first book, the butterfly is a representation of her, because she was the person who really helped me believe in myself, and I'm so grateful that I can still feel her love, and I wanted to share the magic of her with other people, and I felt that the way that I could continue on her legacy would be through my writing and share her with all of you. So I hope that you're able to catch a glimpse of her gentle spirit through my books.
You talked earlier a lot about nature, and that you get a lot from being out in nature. Can you expand a little bit more about how that connection with nature comes into your books, and how we might introduce our kids and encourage our kids to be connected more with nature?
Sure. Well, nature for me, I think, has always been a haven, because I feel like outside I can just be. There isn't that same fear of judgment. And also, I think there are so many possibilities in nature, so many things to pique your curiosity, so many things to be in awe of, or to be inspired by, and to wonder about. And so, in each of my books, I try to come from that same perspective of wonder and awe and curiosity. So, in my Beatrice book, I set it in a forest-like environment, and I had animals as my central characters, because I'm also an animal lover. And then in my second book, the tree, the maple tree, is actually the narrator of the story, or it's really from her perspective, because I've always been fascinated by trees. I think they're really beautiful. Each one has a unique structure and story, and so I want to share that same love with kids, and I think for children, that love of nature comes so naturally. You see, even when I'm at the preschool, whenever we go outside, the children just automatically light up. And I think for all of us, it provides that time to explore, to heal, to adventure, and to just be, which I think are things that we need a little bit more of. So I definitely encourage, people taking some downtime and going out in nature and just being and appreciating. It really helps, I think, especially for me, put things in perspective.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier on, we talked a lot about anxiety and how you were hoping that Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift could help kids kind of get a handle on that, and you shared very generously a little bit about your experience with anxiety. For a parent out there who is not familiar, and I know you're not a doctor, but are there signs that that parents should be aware of, that if they see their kids doing certain things, it might be a something for them to investigate, that, wow, maybe your kid is struggling with anxiety and maybe they need a little bit of help?
Sure. Well, from my personal experience, I know that a lot of the time, my anxiety manifested itself in physical ways. So there would be more like physical discomfort. Sometimes, it could be headaches, cold hands, stomach aches. But I think the most important thing for a parent or a caregiver, is to establish an open line of communication with their child, because I know for me that made such, a powerful difference, because since I had that sense of unconditional acceptance and love from my parents, they didn't make me feel any sort of shame. And I think that made such a difference. So I felt like I could approach them if I had any concerns. And I think if a parent establishes that open line of communication so that child knows you can come to me with anything. And also I think just, being aware of your child's needs, and, maybe if they vocalize that something is a little bit more, scary for them, or something was more overwhelming, or even if you notice them more reserved, giving them a platform to feel safe to open up and have a conversation so that, you can find the remedy that's best for them. Mm-hmm. And again, everybody's journey is different, but I think what I noticed to be most helpful is just making that child feel safe so that they don't feel like they have to carry the weight of their fears alone.
Yeah. How important do you think it is for families to read together as a way of establishing that communication?
That I am a big proponent of. I have always, probably from really the time that I was a young girl, I've always had my nose in a book, and I thank my parents for that, because they read to me when I was younger, and I believe from that act of kindness, that encouraged me to develop a natural love of reading, and now I hope to pass that along. So I realize what a beautiful time that is to share a book with someone. That's why I especially love children's books, because they give you an opportunity to read together, have that shared reading time. And that's actually my favorite time at the preschool, when I can read a book to the kids, because I think being able to bring a book to life, and I especially love to animate them. So if I have like a character that I can bring in, or, if I can act out a part of the story, or ask them questions, or come up with a craft afterward that might extend the learning of the book, I love to do that. And I think it's wonderful that reading gives us all the opportunity to share in that adventure together. And I just noticed the positive difference it made in my learning experience. It really helped me become an avid reader. It helped expand my vocabulary. And I think it also really helped me develop that love for writing. So yes, I'm a major advocate of, families or, anyone, a friend, reading together, because it really is a magical experience.
You said something that I haven't heard. You kind of reminded us of, hey, reading with your kids is a great way to help them develop their vocabulary. It's a great way to help them start to learn how to read. It's something parents should do. There's so many benefits to it. But you started by saying that reading with your kids is an act of kindness that you're doing for your kids. And I think that if we can keep that thought in our minds when we come home and we're exhausted and it's like, oh man, the boss has been yelling at me and the car broke down and the pandemic and I don't have the energy. And if you can just remember that, yeah, it's really hard, but this isn't a duty. This isn't something you have to do. This is an act of kindness that you're sharing with your kids. I end every show by thanking parents for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with their kids. And you just made me realize why that is, because we are giving our kids a daily act of kindness when we read with our kids.
I agree, Jed. I feel like it is such a beautiful form of compassion or kindness, because just the closeness, letting that person know that you care, and just that comfort in being beside another human being that you love, and then sharing in something together in the wonder of a book, a way of traveling to another world or befriending the characters. And yeah, I think it's such a beautiful way for human beings to connect. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea of people reading together. That's why I hope that no matter what age my readers are, that they can enjoy my books, not only individually but together. That's always my hope when I write my stories, that they can be shared.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of sharing, we need to share with people where they can go online to find out more about you and all of your wonderful books.
Sure. Well, I have a couple different ways that people can stay connected with me. I do have my website, which is www.stephanieparwulski.com. And then also I do have a couple social media platforms. I do have a Facebook page, which is my name, Stephanie Parwulski, author. And I do also have a Twitter page, and I also have an Instagram account. Both are under my name. And then I admit that I post more on my Facebook. That is usually the social media that I use more often. But there are other platforms that I'm starting to learn how to use.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift, Stephanie Parwulski. Stephanie, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. This was really, really nice.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Candy Wellens. She'll be here. We hope you'll be here too. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Stephanie Parwulski. Please be sure to check out Beatrice and the Sunflower Gift. Also want to thank my incredible producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio, keeping me safe. I also want to thank you. Thank you so much for helping to keep everybody safe by wearing that mask and staying socially distant, helping your kids wash their hands. But most of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.